Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again, or welcome. Welcome to this press conference with the United Bid 2026 World Cup organizers. Let me introduce first the speakers we have today. Mr. Stephen Reed from Canada FA, Mr. Carlos Cordero from US Soccer Federation, and Mr. Decio de Maria from Mexico FA. And we have also the pleasure to welcome the president of the CONCACAF and vice president of FIFA, Victor Montagliani. Just before I let you the first question, let me remind you, if were not with us before, the channel translation. So 1 is English, 2 is French, Français, 3 is Spanish, Espanol, 4 is German, Deutsch, 5 is Russian, and that's it, safe. So maybe we can start. Don't forget to introduce yourself, the name of your organization, and give a little time to our translator to achieve or finish the translation in your headphones. Thank you very much. First question will be on the first row, just right there, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Stephen Goff of the Washington Post. Carlos, now that you have this event coming, America is building a soccer culture, a football culture. Mexico's had one for a long time. Canada continues to grow. What would you like to accomplish in the big picture from hosting this major tournament?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Look, it's something we've been talking about now for the last few months, if not for longer, that bringing the World Cup back to North America would be transformational for the sport. This is something that we feel will more than re-energize the grassroots. We'd like to see young boys and girls, men and women. We have 3.5, almost 4 million registered players today. We'd like to see that number double and triple. So transformational in numbers. We want to bring more resources to the game at all levels. We have a strong, multiple strong leagues. We're growing a women's league, so we want to bring a lot more attention to the sport, and we want to get the sport to being the preeminent sport after all. And we think that this works hand in hand with a lot of the demographic changes that are unfolding as we speak.
Fox Sports for Mr. Decio de Maria. Well, congratulations for the fruit of your work. I would like to ask you now, what commitment and responsibility do you have to show to organize a host cup, a World Cup with 3 hosts, and what does it mean really for the World Cup as such then? Yes, first of all, I think it's great news for those who have been chosen, for Mexico, to be able to host for the 3rd time a World Cup. That is something that all of Mexico will be celebrating. And everything, of course, will take place in 8 years. When the World Cup is over in Russia, we will start working again. We will continue on the basis of what we have already established. And we will have, obviously, the 3 venues in Mexico that we already have now, including the Estadio de Azteca, and that's where we will be staging those matches. This will be bringing these 3 countries even closer together, and I'm pretty convinced that we will benefit from it, together with the United States and Canada. And I think it will be a new formula with 3 hosts and with 48 teams. And I do believe that at the end, we are proud, we feel proud that we, in these 3 countries, will be opening up our doors to receive all of the world in these countries in America.
Yeah, hi, I'm back here. Andrew Warshaw from Inside World Football. Congratulations, gentlemen. Can can I ask a couple of points? Number one, that was pretty emphatic, that victory. Did you ever expect, honestly, to win by such a healthy margin? And how did you manage to do it? And in particular, get one country, Russia, to vote for you when I think every single expert on the planet, apart from obviously your good selves, thought they would go the other way. Thank you.
I could, sure. Yeah. To answer your question, I don't think that we ever thought that we would have such overwhelming support. We were very humble in terms of our view of the campaign. We were obviously hopeful, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from many federations, but it just shows that the amount of work that we did over the past year, and in particular over the past 6 to 8 weeks, has come to fruition. You asked how we managed it. We actually had 3 teams led by each of the co-chairs, and scanned out to every federation that we could possibly visit and every confederation that we could possibly visit to send our message and tell them about the quality and the merits of our bid. So it was an amazing amount of work by a truly dedicated team over a long period of time that resulted in the support that we did get.
Maybe, Andrew, I could amplify on that. As you know from our conversations a few days ago, we always had a path to victory. It was, we had a very clear path to victory, and that involved getting support from all the confederations, including, I might add, Africa. So I think we feel very good today with the result. Obviously, a lot of things came our way, not just Russia, but there were several others who came our way in the last 72 hours. And I just amplify Steve's point. I think at the end of the day, I think the power of the unity of the 3 nations coming together, offering what no one nation, including myself or my own, can provide today. I think that was a very, very powerful message, and that was something that we repeated and repeated and repeated over and over again, and I think it made the difference at the end.
Buenas tardes. Eduardo Hernández del periódico El Economista de México para el...
From Mexico. Question for Mr. de Maria. How difficult was it for you also reaching out to the federations, and will then also all member federations of FIFA also benefit from this? Look, Eduardo, I believe that, first of all, I think you have to underscore the fact that this was a teamwork, that the message that we stood together as 3 countries was well received, and that we actually tabled a proposal that was based on football, and our dialogue was always centered around football, how to improve football, how to establish a proposal where the footballer would be able to shine, where the teams would be able to shine, and where the fans would be able to enjoy it. And I think that was the message that we wanted to get across. And we had that proposal, and today, of course, we have been endowed with a great responsibility. And the members of FIFA, for the very first time, were able to vote, and then to see all the individual votes up on the screen and knowing that everybody made this choice, we knew that from the outset it was a vote for football. And in this sense, our proposal, our united proposal, was to jointly grow with football, to really start and base our effort on the teams and on the players, work together with the fans, always within the framework of football.
Carlos, Tariq Panja from the New York Times. You were pretty emotional there. You kind of had tears in your eyes. Can I ask, just that moment when the name came out. What was that feeling? It seemed like a lot came out of you there, not just tears. You were shaking. You were quite excited about that. And just on Andrew's point, it was really interesting that Russia in particular, who'd come out from Morocco in the past, did turn to what did change their mind.
Well, look, I mean, it was Tarek. It was overwhelmingly emotional for everyone, not just myself. And I think a lot of very hard work and effort has gone into this, into the campaign over the last few months. And Steve already alluded to the multiple trips we took around the world together. And we ran and lost 8 years ago. So you appreciate that as much as you can do, you're not guaranteed a victory until the votes are all in. And so when that happened, we were all rightfully, I think, very emotional. We're still trying to process it even now as we speak to you this very minute. It's so. I'd say the team bonded really well. We had a kickoff dinner last week in London, and it was like a family. I mean, we've literally lived and traveled like an extended family, and we've got chat groups and WhatsApp lines, and so we all know where everyone is and how meetings are going, and we're sharing feedback and information. I cannot stress the degree of connectivity, and it really was an extended family. And I think a lot of what people saw in us when they met with us one-on-one was that sense of the bonding and the deep sense of we really like each other, and we wanted to win for the three countries. Look, as far as Russia is concerned, we made the case. I think we've been making the case now for multiple weeks that this should not be about geopolitics. This was never about. This was not a vote in the United Nations. This is a vote amongst 211, or maybe not quite 211 today, 210 footballing associations. And at the end of the day, we tried to make the case of what is best for the game. What's best for FIFA? We talked a lot about the forward program, where those monies go. How do you actually impact the grassroots? How do you bring more kids into the game? Well, ultimately, all of that needs resources. And so the Men's World Cup, being what it is the signature tournament. And this is what drives the organization forward. And so it was very, very important. I think ultimately, I mean, I take great gratitude that people listened and heard the message, and not Russia specifically, but to all of them.
Para el señor Montagliani, Juan Martín Montes de Medio Tiempo, preguntarle
President
cómo se
Montagliani.
concibió la idea de este mundial, cómo compaginó las ideas.
Could you tell us how the idea of this bid came together? And maybe tell us also about what you felt. Well, the idea of this joint united bid started maybe 6 or 7 years back. I spoke to the President Sunil, and Carlos was vice president at the time, and then Ignacio. And we spoke about having a joint World Cup involving the three countries. And this was before FIFA switched to the 48-team format. When President Infantino changed the format, it became almost a perfect solution, because we're talking about a tournament with 48 teams. It's just like Carlos was saying, it's hard for any one country, even if it were the United States, for any one country to have a World Cup with 48 national teams. We've worked a lot this last year, but we've also worked a lot 4 and 5 years before that. And you see the team here at the panel. We were working in Canada, the United States, and Mexico all together. We're talking about the work of 5 or 6 years, not only the last 3 months.
Mira, Juan Martín,
Yes, Juan Martín, your question regarding emotion, well, I feel a huge emotion. throughout my life in football, if there's anything I understood, is that we are administrators of emotion, so to speak. And today I understood once again what it is that we are transmitting through the vehicle of football. So what I'm feeling now is a great deal of emotion to have achieved a milestone that isn't for us, it's for all the fans in our three countries. All these fans that believed in our project and that now they'll be celebrating, and in 8 years they will witness a festival that will bring them together in a big football family. So basically I feel overwhelming emotion and I can't explain it to myself and even less to all of you. It's a huge emotion. Thank you.
Richard Conway from BBC. Congratulations again to you all. Victor, it was just a question on this, and forgive me if this has already been mentioned, but in terms of automatic slots for Mexico, Canada, US, could you give us some insight into your thought process on that? Is that something you'd like to see? When will we perhaps know more about that? And to Carlos, Carlos, July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of American independence. Is that perhaps in your thinking for a possible date for the World Cup final?
In terms of the slots, from a governance perspective, it's a decision that's made by the FIFA Council. There's no timeline on it in terms of, so it hasn't been discussed or thought about. I think, we obviously needed to get through the bid process. That's now completed. It'll probably be discussed as we move forward, but obviously we still have this World Cup to finish and then another one too. So I don't think there's any rush, but I think at some time here it'll come up at a council meeting in terms of what the decision will be, and then we'll obviously advise the public of what that decision will be.
Fabio Alexio?
Yeah, Richard, on the second question, obviously at the end of the day, this is a decision that FIFA and the organizing committee will make. But you rightfully point out it will be our 250th anniversary, and if I can dream a little bit more today, we might even see the U.S. in the final, in 2026. So, no, whether it's the final or not, it'll be right smack in the middle of the tournament. So.
Question here behind. Fabio Aleixo, Folha de São Paulo from Brazil. The CONMEBOL told that all members would vote for United 2026. So, the Brazilian Confederation voted for the Morocco bid. Is this was a surprise for you? Because all the CONMEBOL members told that they would vote for you. They didn't allow Morocco to make a presentation here in Moscow. And so I'd like a comment about this, because for us, it was also a surprise.
Well, I would just say it was a surprise to us too. When we only picked this up a few minutes ago, when we actually looked at the list. But look, we respect the decision of every association to make its own mind up, and every decision is very personal. And at this point in time, we're not looking at those who didn't vote for us. This was a great victory today for FIFA, for football. The fact that every association had a vote, people forget about that. That wasn't the case 8 years ago. So that's a significant step forward in the reform process. The fact that everyone voted today, I think, is really the news, not who voted for whom.
Los Angeles Times somewhere.
Carlos, right here in the middle. Congratulations again. I have two questions. One is, as someone with your background, coming to the United States, immigrant background, what does this mean to you personally that now you're bringing the world to the U.S.? And also you've been very consistent about saying geopolitics had nothing to do with it. But there were the three letters from the White House. How much did that help?
Well, on the geopolitical point, I'm absolutely convinced that for the vast majority of countries who voted, or member associations who voted today, it was not the issue. And we got votes today from countries who are not always aligned with us on most issues. So I think people focused on, at the end of the day, what was in their best interest. And these are, again, footballing associations, all of whom have budgets and challenges much like we do. And at the end of the day, they very much depend on things like FIFA Forward and other programs that need money. So I think that argument might have been somewhat overblown. The point of issue of visas was absolutely crucial, because part of hosting an event like this, you have to open your borders to not just players and team officials, but also fans. And we were very gratified that the administration, lent us very significant support. But let me just say, this was a truly bipartisan effort. I mean, just last night, we got a unanimous resolution from the United States Senate supporting the bid. Some weeks ago, we got something very similar from the Congress. So this was bipartisan in every respect, and it so happens that we have a Republican in the White House, and it is what it is. But we could not have been in the position we were in today in the final analysis with a big win, a big W, were it not for the fact that we got very strong support. But let me further say that support was really from all three governments. We were working very closely together, all three, across the three, and on multiple issues. And it's not just visas. It's everything from transportation to security, and so on. And so work permits. This was a very, very complicated, time-consuming effort that took months to pull together with all three administrations, and we got great support from all three governments. Sorry.
It's Martin Ziegler here from the Times, Carlos. Can you give some assurances to fans that this is going to be an affordable World Cup? Because some of the figures that have been bandied around for average ticket prices, including your own ticket revenue, makes me think that actually this is going to be sacrificing the grassroots fans' interests in the interests of bringing in a lot of money for FIFA.
Sorry, I don't know where you were, or where are you? Okay, back there. No, there was an insinuation to that effect earlier today, that our revenues are based on inflated ticket prices, and right to the contrary, these are ticket prices that were established, from prior World Cups, and we extrapolated from that using, obviously inflation and so on. But look, at the end of the day, people forget we have 80 matches. We don't have 60. We have 80 matches, so that adds a dimension to the numerics. We have 68,000 seats on average per stadium. That is huge relative to, even here in Russia. On average, 68,000. And we accounted for category 1, 2, 3, and 4 seats, as per FIFA protocol. So we didn't stack the deck with category 1 tickets. We could have done that and generated even more revenue, but we didn't do that. And so these are completely consistent with other sporting events in North America and with existing ticket prices for today. Does anyone know what it costs to go to a World Cup game here in Russia? So, we felt very comfortable with the $2.5 billion, and this is even before we get into things like dynamic pricing. And in some of these stadiums, we can actually generate more capacity because we had way too much for the press and so on. So we felt the $2.5 billion was a figure that we felt very comfortable with. That's on the ticketing revenue.
Jamil?
Thank you. My question is to both the Canadian and the Mexican representatives on the table. How are you going to deal with Mr. Trump for the next couple of years, or more than that? Will there be a wall? Is your Prime Minister weak? Well, how will this play out in practice? And secondly, to the Mexican, our colleague from Mexico, ¿cómo has visto la decisión de Brasil de votar por Marruecos?
How do you see Brazil's decision to vote for Morocco?
First of all, no, I don't believe that Prime Minister Trudeau is weak. Don't follow those statements. But in terms of the bid, the united bid, and the support that we got from our respective governments, it was overwhelming. All three governments were giving us all of the guarantees that we required to move forward with this. As Carlos pointed out earlier, very strong guarantees all across, and it was a very complicated process. So when it came to football, when it came to our united bid, there was no question that we were all working collaboratively towards the common goal. As it relates to some of these other issues and name calling, I'm not going to comment on that. Those things come and go. The politics of today may not be the politics of next year or 5 years or 8 years down the road. But what I can say is that when it came to what we were trying to accomplish, all three governments and at every level were working together in order to assist with our goal and achieving that goal, and we were successful. So I'm grateful for that support.
First of all,
yo no voy a hablar de política aquí.
I'm not going to talk politics here.
México y Estados Unidos somos
Mexico
países vecinos,
and the United States are
2,500
neighbors. We share
kilómetros de
2,500
tenemos una
kilometers
larga historia,
of border.
y a
We've
lo
got a
largo
long
del
joint
tiempo
history,
hemos
and
tenido
over time
situaciones donde no estamos de acuerdo,
we've
y
had
también
situations
muchas
where we've
otras
had
que nos hemos
differences of
estado de
opinion,
acuerdo.
and also many others
Y
in
lo
which we
único que
have
puedo
agreed.
decir en relación
And the
a
only
tu
thing I
primer
have to say
pregunta
regarding your
es de
first
que el
question
fútbol es tan
is
poderoso
that football
que
is such a
nos pudo
powerful
poner
force
a Carlos,
that
a
it can
Steve
bring together
y a mí,
Carlos, Steve, and
representando
myself,
nuestros
bring
tres
us together
países
representing
para
our three
resolver no
countries
solamente ese
to
problema,
solve not
sino
only
poner
that problem,
todo un
but
sistema, un
to
proyecto,
set
una
up an
propuesta
entire
que el
system,
día
an
de
entire
hoy fue
proposal
votada por la
that
mayoría
today was
de los
accepted
miembros de la
by
FIFA.
the majority
Creo
of
que el
FIFA
fútbol
members.
mandó otra vez
So I think
una
once
señal
again
muy
football
poderosa
sent a very
que
clear and
pocas
powerful
cosas
message
como el fútbol
that
pueden sentar
very few
a
things
gentes
can
y a
motivate people
países
as
y a
much, can
sociedades
join
y a puntos
societies
de
and
vista
countries, bring them
diferentes
together
buscando un solo
more than
objetivo,
football,
que es el fútbol.
aiming towards one
¿Qué quiere decir
one
esto?
goal.
Que la pelota
What am I trying to
vuela
say?
por arriba y no hay barreras
The
que
ball
detengan
travels
la
forward and
voluntad
there is no
del
barrier
fútbol.
that can stop
Y segundo,
football.
yo
Secondly,
creo que gracias que me preguntaste porque se la quería contestar al
well, this was a
compañero
question that I
anterior.
wanted to answer
¿Qué
earlier.
significa para México que Brasil haya
Regarding what does it
votado
mean for
por
Mexico
Marruecos?
that Brazil voted for Morocco?
Para mí,
Well,
en lo
for
particular,
me, for myself personally,
significa que tenemos que hacer un mejor trabajo
it just
todavía
means that we need
para que
to
dentro de 8
work even
años,
harder
cuando
so
termine
that
el
in
Mundial,
8 years, when the World Cup will be over,
haga un
Brazil
statement y diga,
will make a
"Chapeau."
public statement congratulating us.
Hola, licenciado de María.
Yes, Licenciado de María Savera González from television. Well, this successful management in order to achieve the bid and make it successful in 2026, what will you have to do now in order to make it a World Cup like none ever before? And what will you do in order to ensure that the Estadio Azteca, the Azteca Stadium in the city of Mexico, could host the opening, or do you hope that that the final might actually be staged there? Well, what can we contribute to football and to the World Cup? Well, if you just go to, you just have to go to Moscow and to the streets here, and you can see it. We Mexicans are very passionate about football. We love participating in the World Cup. We are always distinguished as a very important group of fans also that are present there. And you will, if you go to the streets here in Moscow, you will see Mexican fans, and they're continuing to pour into this country. And I believe that we will once again have a very, very strong presence of Mexicans in this country. Now, to the second question, the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. Well, now I think that we have to offer it a bouquet of flowers because of all the 16, indeed 23 stadia that are part of this bid. It is the oldest stadium. The Azteca Stadium is facing its third World Cup, its third opening match, and I think just like other elderly people, you have to respect it, you have to groom it, you have to cherish it. And I do believe that as far as the opening and final matches are concerned, FIFA will have to decide on that. We will work together on this. This is a topic that in future months we will certainly provide you an answer for.
Rob Harris, Associated Press. Congratulations all on the victory. Whoever wants to take these ones. Speaking to some of the voters afterwards, they seem to suggest that maybe if the United States had gone it alone, it wouldn't have been successful, and the fact that actually having Mexico and Canada helped to sort of soften the face of the bid. Is that the sense you got from going round the world and pitching for votes? And I don't know if this has already been addressed, but Gianni Infantino suggested when I asked him, he said FIFA has the final say on the split of games, and the fact it could change from 60, 10, 10. Would you be open to that?
So you want to go first? Go.
Sure. I'll answer the second one, Rob, the FIFA one. I mean, all World Cups in terms of, at the end of the day, they're all properties of FIFA. And so other World Cups that are bid on, they're not as obviously, in terms of people really looking into how the voting goes or how they're picked. I'm talking about youth World Cups and stuff. The process is the same. So countries bid and put their best bid forward, and after the bid process, then it returns to FIFA in terms of the operations and all that. Obviously, they work with the federations where it is, and so as it relates to anything to do with the operations of a World Cup, it's the domain of FIFA, and so if things have to change, they'll change. Obviously, in the spirit of any agreements, FIFA obviously takes that into context and also discusses it with the hosts, but if changes have to be made for the betterment of the tournament, then they'll make those kind of changes. But we're a long way from having those kind of even evaluations, never mind discussions.
So Rob, I just add to that to the first question, but to me it's tied to the second question as well. You know, this was not I know you're somewhat cynical about the process, but this was not about, strengths versus weaknesses. The reality is we always felt that coming together as a threesome, we'd be stronger. We unified, we were going to be stronger than any one of us. And I say that in all sincerity, even speaking for my own country. So I think we went into it with that. We weren't cynical about that, and I think we were able to convince the member associations that we all brought different things to the party. Look, my country is blessed with great infrastructure. Of the 23, 17 are in the United States. We could host the World Cup tomorrow. But the reality is there are other issues here, and so at the end of the day, we felt that this coming together would send a message. The fact is, very few, if only one or two countries in the world could host a 48, team World Cup. And so the legacy for the future is if this can be successful, this can be repeated. And it can be repeated in all parts of the world. And we were in Scandinavia, in Western Europe, in Southeast Asia, in South America. They can all now dream of having a 48 World Cup because they don't all have to go build 16 stadiums. Isn't that a great thing? So we felt that was a very powerful message, and that caught on. I think a lot of member associations saw in us, saw them. They saw themselves in us, and for them that was something they could also dream of hosting a World Cup. To the point, the first question about how many matches in each country, I mean, the reality is, it reflects the underlying, assets we each have. We have 17 of the 23 stadiums. Could you put 60 matches in Mexico or Canada? Probably not. So at the end of the day, we think that the split that we've talked about accurately reflects and represents what we all bring to the party. At the end of the day, it's one tournament. We're all going to be part of it. We're all going to have a great time. It's one big party. We've talked about a fan ID, people coming and going. I don't think people are going to sit there and say, oh my God, this is Mexico, that's not. It's the way it is. With the fact that we can come together as three nations and put on a great event, that to me is the story. And that will be the legacy for the future.
And finally, the last question. We are very glad to give this last question to Petr from Russian TV. Prepare your headset, channel 5. And just to remind you that Russia plays tomorrow, opening the current World Cup played for tomorrow. So Petr, the floor is yours.
Thanks for the possibility to ask a question. Russian TV. I have a question for the representatives from the US, Canada, as well as for the representative from Mexico. Could you say, have you been able to feel the atmosphere of the World Cup 2018 in Russia? Maybe you've visited around in Moscow, you've seen the Red Square, you've been to the stadiums, you've seen people and talked to them. Do you feel safe in a country such as Russia?
Absolutely. This is actually, I've been pleased to, this is my third time back. I was here for Confederations Cup, I was here for the draw, and the experience, not only by the organizers, but of the people of Russia has been tremendous, and it's very welcoming, and I look forward to a fantastic World Cup, and with great football, but also great experience outside the stadiums as well.
Well, for me, I think yesterday we hadn't had chance to go around, but yesterday we spent a lot of time going through the different compounds of the confederations, and all are around the center of Moscow. And I saw thousands of people going to the plaza, and I saw something that I was very excited. All were mixed. All were walking on the streets. All were kind of a great family having fun. And I'm sure that it's going to be the same for the next 30, 31 days. And on behalf of the Mexicans, I spoke with them yesterday or took a photo yesterday on the streets. They love Moscow. They love Russia.
So let me just add from the perspective of the United States. I was talking with Alexei Sorokin last night, not the night before, I think it was at the banquet, and he reminded me of the fact that Americans have purchased, I think, 190,000 tickets. 190,000. Get a load of that. That's a huge number of tickets. For anyone who says that we don't have passion for football, you're going to see a lot of Americans around here over the next month. So I'm delighted to be here personally. I haven't had much time myself yet. I'm not leaving tomorrow because I'm going to have some time to get around and see the sights. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the fact that we have so many American fans, covering. Obviously, we're not in the tournament, but they're supporting other teams. We're delighted that many people will be here to support the tournament. Yes, a lot of Mexican supporters too.
And from my perspective, I actually found myself, unlike Carlos, with about 3 hours free time. So went down to the Fan Fest, fan zone, down by Red Square, where they were just erecting most of it, and I was absolutely blown away by what they had done down there. Just an amazing job in terms of the fan experience. And from a footballing perspective, I am first and foremost a fan, and I actually went into the lottery and purchased my own tickets before we made this journey. So I'm going to be staying in Moscow for some additional days and going to see my friend and colleague Decio Di Maria's team. Mexico played Germany. Decio is making me wear a Mexican jersey in the stands. I don't know where I'm going to be sitting, but hopefully I'm amongst some Mexican fans. And then we're going to continue our journey, my wife and I, on to St. Petersburg. So I hope to enjoy your country and your great hospitality. I'm very, very pleased to be here, and I think it's going to be an amazing experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to our speakers. Congratulations again. Thanks to all of you, dear colleagues. See you later. Enjoy the World Cup.